Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video in my design job series. Today I have a special guest with me. This is Nancy.
Hi.
Nancy is a freelancer, so I brought her on today to talk about freelancing because, as I mentioned in my design job types videos, there's three main types of design jobs. You can work in-house, you can work in an agency, or you can freelance. So, I don't freelance personally full-time. That's not something I've ever done full-time, so I brought Nancy on today to talk about it because you do freelance full-time, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Do you want to tell us a bit about your business and your freelancing and I don't know, how long you've been doing it, how it all works?
Well, I'm Nancy, and I am a designer animator in Northern Virginia, and I have been freelancing for the last year and a half, and that's after working in an agency job for about 5 years.
Right. Why did you want to go freelancing? Like, what about it appealed to you the most?
There was a lot of appeal to it because you get to set your own hours and you can work remotely if you need to. And I found that that was something I really needed to do because my mom is currently ill and I needed extra time to go be able to take care of her.
Yeah, of course.
So
that makes sense.
so it turned out to be the perfect fit for me.
And how did you go about finding your first clients for freelancing?
I went to people I knew, and I went
Makes
to
sense.
agencies that I knew, and I reached out to them, and I had conversations with them, and I let them know that, hey, this is something I'm doing, and if you hear of anybody, please let me know. So, and sometimes they would be the ones who came to me, and they would say, hey, we have a job, are you available? And I would say, yes, I am.
I think that makes sense. Go to your personal connections first.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Word of mouth, I've heard anyway about freelancing, and all of the freelance jobs that I have gotten when I've done it on the side have been through word of mouth, usually.
Yeah.
Do you find that with your clients?
I do find that with my clients. Word of mouth, whether it's an agency job, I can't say that word today, whether or not it's an agency job or just a client job.
Right.
So it all comes from word of mouth, and it could come from the design community or your friends or just anybody you know, really.
Okay, well, you said something interesting there. Agency job or a client.
Yes.
So is this the two types of freelance gigs you find yourself working on? Either you're freelancing for another design agency or you're freelancing directly with a client. Is that right?
Yes, those are the two type of jobs I've found so far, the agency one and the client one, and they're both vastly different, really, because an agency already knows what they want. They have a creative director and an art director, and you turn in your work just as if you were working for an agency, and they art direct you through it. Whereas with a regular client, you need to take them through step by step the process that you've created for them to make it as streamlined as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about that before, about how working with essentially designers and like other creatives as your client is very different to working with, you know, clients who perhaps aren't in the creative industries.
Yeah, there's a lot that we know that we assume other people like us know, but they really don't, and you have to educate them.
There we go. Okay, so you're freelancing, you've been doing this for a year and a half now. What are some of the main challenges that you find as part of your job, as part of being a freelancer? What should people be aware of if they're thinking about choosing freelancing as their job?
I would say you have to get used to the alone time.
Okay.
Because, again, that's a pro and a con. Sometimes you really like that alone time to crank through the work you need to do, but on the other end, you start to miss people and you start to miss that human connection. So you're going to have to go out and make sure that you see people, go to meetups or get together with your friends, go to, in the United States, we have the AIGA events.
Yeah.
So go to those events so that way you can connect and don't feel like yourself going insane.
What about the business side of freelancing? Was that a challenge for you to get used to, or did that come easily? Because I think when you're freelancing, you're essentially running your own company, even if it's not technically like a legal company entity.
Exactly, yeah. It was a little challenging just in terms of setting it up and doing my own contracts and whatnot, but I used a starting point for me was the AIGA contract, which is on their website. Just download that.
That's great.
And then I had a lawyer look it over, and we made some subtle changes. And then I've been using that ever since. So the other thing is setting up your proposal, maybe setting up some templates that can help you, so you can just tweak those as needed per client. And then just setting up all your file systems as well. I'd also recommend setting up a Dropbox or something along those lines so your stuff's always available on the cloud, just in case your external hard drive decides to take a hike one day.
That's good advice for design in general.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly, right? Yeah.
All right, so what if someone is just getting out of design school, or perhaps they're super new to the design industry? Would you recommend them going into freelancing full time? Is it a good first option, do you think?
Directly out of school, I would recommend working for an agency first because you get to know so much through an agency that you don't at a design school.
Right.
And you get to know the business life, you get to know the file setup. These are just things that they don't teach in school.
Yeah.
And I think it's really helpful to have that agency experience.
That makes sense. Because I think a lot of people, freelancing is the dream for a lot of designers. You know, that self-employed, setting your own schedule, finding your own clients, that sort of thing is really appealing.
Yeah.
But I think I agree that you need to know a little bit more about the industry first.
You do.
Yeah.
And while it is very appealing, just remember that there are going to be those nights where you do work an all-nighter. And that's because you have your own schedule and you set your own time when you're going to work.
Yeah.
But those deadlines come up and sometimes you have to take those jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not that it's great to work, you know, a 14-hour shift or, you know, work until 3 a.m. in the morning or whatever. But remember, you've got all those off days too from time to time. So, you know, that kind of balances everything out.
Yeah. Just your schedule isn't going to be as regular as if you're at an office job.
Exactly.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the main skills that a designer would need to have to be successful as a freelancer?
I think communication is a huge skill because you need to be able to communicate with your clients. You need to be able to present to them. You need to be able to be very organized with your files so you're not constantly losing them. Mm-hmm. And another thing I would highly recommend is when you're sending work out to whether it's an agency client or a client that's not an agency firm.
Yep.
I would highly recommend that you go through that entire file as if you were sending it for the final time, because you don't know what they're going to do with it. You don't know if that's what they're going to use. And it's really important to like proofread your work, look it over, and just make sure that you're really comfortable with what you're sending out there.
All right, well, if anyone watching is thinking about becoming a freelancer, I hope this video has been useful and that you've learned a bit about the skills you need to have to be a good freelancer and some of the like day-to-day of what the job is like. If you've got any questions though, leave them down below in the comments. Perhaps Nancy, you can dive in and answer some as well.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Down there. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and make sure you subscribe because there will be more coming in this design job series. I've got the agency one left to do in this series, so that will be coming eventually. Thank you for being here, Nancy.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Where can people find you online if they're interested in seeing your work or just, you know, hanging out with you on the internet? Yeah.
www.nancypalm.com. That's my website. And my Instagram is Nancy_Palm.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.